Like I mentioned, Destiny's someone that used to be friends with Kyle. They did a stream together one time with Hassan, and certainly feelings have changed since then. And if you guys haven't been keeping up with all that, we can fill in the context a little bit after I play this. So 1 second.
Any thoughts on the Destiny Lefty arc? Do you think he would want to come on the podcast? I don't want Destiny on the podcast because he's actually the one person who I was so shocked and disturbed at the fact that he came after me so viciously and aggressively that I actually responded to him a number of times. I think he's just a contrarian at this point. I do. I think his whole thing, he hates the left so much that like anything the left does, he's like, I'm against that because the left is doing it. And it's like, okay, I don't fucking care about your contrarianism. It's not interesting. It's really stale. It's really boring. I don't care about it. And he's the guy who I liked him a lot. And then when I saw him treat me in such bad faith, I was like, why did I ever like this guy? And obviously I never want to talk to him again and never want to be associated with him in any way. Because yeah, he just seems like a really, I don't know, like an unhappy person who has these problems and he like sort of acts out a lot where he has weird relationships with other streamers and personalities. And he's like, just really over the top and aggressive in disagreements. And he questions people's motives. And yeah, it's really strange to watch an adult act like he acts. I mean, there's like zero charitability to people he talks to. And now he's just such a contrarian that no, I wouldn't have him on the podcast because I don't even really view him as an honest actor anymore. The way he treated me and the things he said, and like it was just so over the top. And I was like, where the fuck did this come from? Because the first time I saw him come after me, I was just watching his stuff because I enjoyed watching his stuff. And then he took a random, like really gross shot at me. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And anyway, so apparently he's doing this now with fucking everybody on the left. And, you know, everybody's like, holy shit, this guy's kind of crazy. And yeah, that's where we are with him. So I wouldn't have him on the podcast. I don't think he's an honest actor. And I think now sort of everybody's kind of opening their eyes to the fact that this guy has some serious issues. And I mean that as in like, I think he has serious like mental health issues and he should get help because I haven't met anybody else in this space who acts like that. There are people who have character flaws and whatever, of course, but he's the first one that I'm like, whoa, something is really fucking off here. So yeah, I just think now he's a contrarian and he's anti-left and he thinks he's like edgy or interesting and it's just boring and stale.
Yeah, I think that's a really accurate analysis of the situation. And I know you maybe don't watch as much Destiny or haven't watched as much Destiny, so you might not be as familiar with his like relationship.
Just the Richard Wolff
people.
thing, if I'm being like cards on the table, that's the only like big thing I've seen with him.
Well, you're lucky because he's really intolerable. And in my opinion, most people that actually watch Destiny watch Destiny. I mean, that's certainly the enjoyment that I get out of it to whatever value there is any. I think that's mostly it. And there's no denying he's intelligent and articulate. Like he can form a thought. It's not like he's just a blithering idiot or something. But what Kyle's speaking to here is definitely the sense of antagonism, mostly to people on the left that's rearing its head more and more. It's like he had a crazy right winger on to debate trans issues of all things. And was like and is so nice to her. You know, he was like so understanding, so charitable of all of her horrible, you know, regressive, degenerate takes on the subject. But then you see him in a debate with a lefty, even someone like Hassan, who at one point he was supposedly friends with. And there's no charitability. It's extremely antagonistic. And you tell he's just trying to like trigger the libs and dunk on the left for views, essentially. But in my opinion, there's just nothing there because there's no actual intellectual consistency. You know, you look at a guy like Kyle Kulinski, and he's definitely changed his mind on some issues, but overall through the course of his, you know, career, you can pretty easily identify what his like foundations are. He has pretty consistent values. You take a guy like Destiny, on the other hand, from the start of his streaming career to now, you know, he's in a total different place with like 100, you know, detours along the way, seemingly no like, you know, real base values that keep him centered. It's just kind of like I don't want to say grifting, you know, I don't really like to accuse people of being grifters necessarily, but it's weird how much he's changed his opinion seemingly at the whim of whatever's kind of, you know, in vogue. I think
we saw that in multiple people on the internet, right? So he's done what so many people do, right? When you kind of get into this space, you have a lot of choices, right? Especially if you kind of get a show that goes off the ground, you kind of understand what's going to move your show forward and what's going to hold your show back. And you realize who's getting access to your videos and who's getting recommended to you. And what you can do is, if you want to skyrocket and you have no morals, you'll just decide who listens to my show. Okay, great. Let's pander to them in the extreme. And I think what may have ended up happening to somebody like Destiny because it didn't essentially, like, Dave Rubin also started out as more of like a lefty before he went. And now I'm not saying that Destiny has the same views as Dave Rubin, but we've seen this like shift where there's a really high demand where like conservatives want to watch a leftist be like, oh my God, the Democrats are so crazy now. I used to be a Democrat and now they're so fucking crazy, because it kind of reinforces all of their beliefs and they can like cognitively jerk themselves off to it, and it makes them feel good and it makes them feel like they're rational, even though they're watching a fucking crazy person on, One American News Network. They have somebody like Destiny who could, talk about how, oh my God, all these liberals are triggered by everything. I agree with these people and even I can't stand them, blah, blah. It just like, if you're like really entrenched in all that, I feel like it just reinforces your worldview. So you're like, see, even the Democrats think these people are crazy. And I think he just found out that that's a cash cow.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely accurate, 100%. And generally, yeah, it just comes off as extremely uncharitable. I think a good example of that is a debate with Hassan that he did, that like what he tries to do is he'll try to corner you into answering a question over and over and over again.
Like he did with Richard Wolff about what is socialism.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And if you don't answer the question exactly the way he wants you to answer it, then he'll literally hold up the rest of the debate and start screaming at you until you give him a proper answer, whatever that means. But it's really obvious what's going on, which is that he doesn't actually have many ideas of his own to defend. So what he tries to do is immediately starts looking for an angle of how to back his opponent into a corner. And that can be an effective debate tactic. And to whatever extent people, really respect this guy intellectually, it's probably because he does have good debate chops. He knows how to like rhetorically win an argument. But that's not to say he himself always has the best opinion. It's just that he's a fast talker that shouts over people, intimidates them, and acts like an antagonistic cock until people just kind of until they just rage quit. I don't really know how else to describe it than that. He just kind of bombards you, and again plays this weird antagonistic game, but not with conservatives a lot of the time. Weirdly, a lot of time just with lefties. So it's
that's who he wants to actually take him seriously, right? So you and I I don't feel like we ever excoriate our guests, but we debate and all those kinds of things. I mean, I feel like we don't have like a specific group of people that we're trying to court necessarily. Just we've just kind of attracted a weird potluck of people. This dude is curating his shit, right? He is trying to only or not only, but that's just who he's signaling to. That's where he's putting out his feeder for, is these right wingers who want to be reinforced and validated.
Or just to be fair to Destiny, he has debated some right wingers and he has like gone off on them before. I'm not saying that never happens, but this is more just lately a trend that I see. And I really do think it's indicative of what Kyle was talking about, which is just kind of a general sense of contrarianism, which defines him. And it's just like whatever the given moment is, he's going to be looking for that angle to be the most contrarian as possible, regardless of whether or not it's in line with his previously held beliefs or whether or not it's consistent with his previously stated values. It's all up in the air. It's all just kind of like, where he sees a lane, I think. So I certainly understand why Kyle doesn't want to debate or have him on his show. And funny enough, I've actually said to you, Zach, there's almost anyone I would talk to on the entire, independent media sphere except Destiny. I genuinely just don't have any interest in it. And again, that was even before Kyle said that. I've always just felt like he's an extremely disingenuous, weaselly motherfucker. And I just feel like it's not productive to discuss anything with him. So that's just my opinion on the dude. Fuck Destiny.